Violent war to my planet. It's you and your kind who make this world unsafe.
Hi, this is Simon and welcome to another marvelous video. A former member of the enthusiastic Global Hazard and Audience Strike Team, or in short, GHOST, Mandroid, also known as Dr. Meridian, is a scientist who is heavily involved in all Cybertronian activity that takes place on Earth. Mandroid served in the Autobot-Decepticon war for years, until finally he lost his right arm during the battle that took place. This unfortunate event was more than enough reason for him to turn his back on the already weirdly integrated Autobot allies. Mandroid harbored a newfound hate for anyone from Cybertron, and he despised his former allies too. Mandroid's only mission then was to become Earth's protector and save them from the vile creatures that were the Cybertronians, regardless of their faction. He believes that he needs to be the hero that humanity needs and is ready to sacrifice everything in order to be their savior. With this mindset, Mandroid is willing to become more and more like the Cybertronians he is trying to destroy, even if his mind and body are sacrificed in the process so that he can win this sudden war. With such convictions on his mind, there are a lot to explore about this scientist gone crazy, so without wasting any more time, let's dwell deep into his history and talk about his prominence further. But before we go into explanation, we do have a very small request. If you like our content, then please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin.
Evolved. Nothing can kill my noble purpose, not the loss of my
A brief backstory of Mandroid. A brilliant scientist in his own right, Dr. Meridian was among the leading researchers in robotics. His understanding of current and emerging technologies were unparalleled, along with his affinity for engineering. Meridian possessed unsurmountable knowledge that only a few would be able to replicate. Scouting his passions for robotics and hoping to enlist his aid in their mission, GHOST approached the brilliant scientist and handed him an offer that he could not refuse. Meridian swiftly accepted this offer, and after being drafted by GHOST, the scientist was able to reach new heights with his knowledge, gaining far greater exposure to everything that he could ever need in the world of robotics engineering. Meridian's work improved drastically. Soon after, he was drafted into GHOST. Dr. Meridian was working in the robotics division during the Autobot-Decepticon war that had found its way to Earth. He was situated in a high-tech lab in San Francisco and was relatively happy with his position. This was until disaster struck. Meridian's lab was caught in the crossfire, and it resulted in the whole place being blown to bits. It came as an even bigger shock than the explosion that the damage was done due to misplaced friendly fire from the allied Autobots. Amidst the abundance of rubble from the destruction of his beloved lab, Meridian was found and evacuated from the debris by his arachnomechs. Arachnomechs were the spider-like droids that Meridian created prior to this event. They basically acted as Meridian's minions, as he had lots of them. They are quite powerful, as they possess enough power to restrain even the likes of Megatron. Although they are not sentient, they do not showcase some ability to feel emotions. They are capable of making their own decisions if the directives from Meridian are not available, but they will not act out of order and will perform all the tasks their creator asks of them. With that important side note out of the way, after Meridian was found alive from within the rubble, the arachnomechs nursed him back to health. He lost his right arm in the explosion and was soon installed with a metallic right arm as a substitute. As soon as Meridian understood what had happened to him and his research, he swore to take revenge on the Cybertronians, regardless of their ailment in their own civil war. Even after the war ended with Megatron reforming himself, Meridian was not ready to accept the changes, as he still had to take revenge for how ill-fated he turned out to be because of the Cybertronians. He decided right at that moment that he would become the savior of Earth and rid the planet of the warring Cybertrons, who leave a trail of destruction everywhere they go. This whole ordeal was supposed to origin the Meridian becoming Mandroid. Although this is not his chosen name, Dr. Meridian is infamously known as Mandroid, after the Terran Transformers gave him the title.
Show me where I'll be working.
Mandroid had a major role to play in Transformers Earthspark. Transformers Earthspark is the latest installment in the legendary Transformers franchise. Featured on Nickelodeon, this series is majorly created for a demographic of kids and lacks the violent themes of the original Transformers cartoon. Regardless, the series is actually very enjoyable and recommended watch for all Transformers fans. It was in this series that we were introduced to the character of Mandroid. and he plays a significant role in the storyline of the series. We follow the storyline of a small family who befriends two young Cybertronians known as the Terrans. These newborn Cybertronians are mentored by Bumblebee and work closely with Optimus Prime, a reformed Megatron, and the organization Ghost to seek out all the remaining hostile Decepticons and other villains who seek to rise in the wake of the war. We first see Mandroid in this new installment in Pennsylvania. He has set up a whole base where he continues his work in robotics and aims to perfect his already powerful Arachnomechs. Situating his base not far from the Ghost headquarters in Witwicky, Meridian plans to repeatedly attack the organization and extract resources and intel. One day, he commanded his Arachnomechs to assault a convoy from the Ghost HQ. The convoy revealed a cargo to be a Decepticon known as Hardtop. Meridian planned to utilize the robot's parts for his own use, and subsequently, he amputated Hardtop's right arm and implanted it onto his own body. Although heavily disproportional, Meridian was satisfied with the result, as anything was better than having him lose his right arm completely during the war. Soon after, Meridian was able to gain some information on these new Transformers, the Terrans. He was interested in gaining control of their bodies and extracting them for parts. For this, he schemed a fake convoy from Ghost and convinced people that he was taking them away for examination. With his abduction scheme successful, he held the two in captivity and after inspection realized that these robots were different from all the other Cybertronians. It did not take long for Meridian to be fed up with the jibber-jabber of Thrash, who subsequently named him Mandroid after the scientist termed them Cybertronius Terrans. This new nickname was something Meridian heavily despised. Meanwhile, the humans, along with Optimus and Megatron, were attempting to locate their friends and rushed to the site in order to save them from this adversary. After the family was successful in finding the whereabouts, Optimus and Megatron also arrived at the scene. After making their arrival apparent, Mandroid attacked the two with his Arachnomechs. After that proved to be futile, Mandroid called in for reinforcements. The heroes were shocked to see Shrapnel, Hardtop, Skullcruncher, and Bombshell. All of these Transformers were under some kind of control and showed no signs of self-will. He used all of them as a distraction while Optimus, Megatron, and Elita 1 fought off the Arachnomechs and the Cybertronians. With a successful escape from his assailants who thwarted his plans, Mandroid was trying to get more used to his new arm. Since the arm was too big for his body, it made it difficult for him to use weaponry efficiently. To resolve this, Mandroid ordered the Arachnomechs to find more Cybertronians so that he could use them to find new parts for his own body. Afterwards, Mandroid enlisted the services of Skywarp and Nova Storm. With much needed muscle on his side, he went straight for the hunt. His plan was to send the two on a mission to abduct Optimus Prime himself. If not abduct, he commanded them to at least acquire his left arm during the assault. As everyone would expect, taking down the leader of the Autobots is not an easy task. Skywarp and Nova Storm returned and were unable to complete their mission. Realizing the error in his schemes, Mandroid proposed a much simpler and more subtle plan that had less margin of error. Mandroid resorted to using the two of his muscle as bait and set up a trap in which he seemingly abducted them. His plan proved successful, and he was able to capture the mighty Megatron and his human ally, Dorothy Malto, the mother of his two kids who befriended the Terrans. Seeing a human working so closely with the Cybertronians, Mandroid felt disgust crawling on his skin. Mandroid shared his difficult experiences with Malto, and the two had a common consequence of the war. Both of them had lost a limb due to the battles. He offered Malto an alliance to work with him against the Cybertronians in his plan to eradicate every last one of them from the face of Earth. Obviously, she declined his advances, so Mandroid decided to use the two as bait once again, making them his hostages so that he could trap Optimus and gain the arm that he desired. During this time, Mandroid also attempted to disembody Megatron so that he could use his powerful arm as a substitute too. Although Malto is able to stall this from happening for a while, eventually Mandroid orders his army of Arachnomechs to attack and kill her. Malto maneuvers her way through the base, dodging the wrath of the Arachnomechs, and eventually the hero arrives at the scene. The arrival of the Autobots is not as Mandroid expected. They were accompanied by Decepticons who had captured them for bounty. In reality, it was the Terrans posing as Decepticons to gain the upper hand. But Mandroid is able to see through their disguise, and with their Decepticon disguise out of of the way, a battle breaks out. In the ensuing battle, the Autobots are able to safely evacuate Dot and Megatron from the Mandroid's base. But after the Arachnomechs do not prove that useful against his assailants, Mandroid uses his last resort. His ultimate weapon was the base he was working inside. The revelation came when the base started transforming into a giant mech with a huge arsenal of weapons. As the Autobots attempted to save Megatron and Dot, they are also using evasive maneuvers to run away from the giant mech and Mandroid's wrath. The mech continuously shoots from his giant cannons in hopes of hitting one of the Autobots, but eventually all of his efforts are futile and the Autobots are able to deal enough damage to the mech that it falls to the ground and sinks into the water. After another embarrassing defeat, Mandroid realizes that he could not do all this alone. So he decided that he would coalesce with the underground bot brawl ring in Philadelphia. There, Mandroid invented a cognitive inhibitor that worked on Cybertronians quite effectively. It is able to force them to fight while the machine is attached to them by reprogramming them for short durations. In return for this invention, Mandroid requested the organization to provide him with scrap parts of the various bots that were fighting in the underground event. It did not take the Molto family a long time to figure out that Mandroid was scheming alongside the bot brawl arena. As Dot was investigating the place with the Terrans, Mandroid used an enhanced version of his inhibitor chip to make the young Terran lose control of his senses. By taking control of the Terran, Mandroid was able to make yet another escape. He ordered to return to him only after gaining control of her allied Terrans, be it whole or disembodied. Although it took them a long while, the remaining Terrans were able to free their sister from the mad scientist control. With back in control of herself and Mandroid escaping, the Terrans were left with yet another unsuccessful pursuit of the villain. After a while, we see that Mandroid organizing a meeting with the director of the Ghost organization, Agent Croft. In a surprising turn of events, Croft ordered Mandroid a position in the organization where he would help them build more control badges. In return for his services, Croft ordered Mandroid a huge supply of the Decepticon prisoners that they had garnered over time, and he was free to use them as his test subjects, covertly or not.
Twice.
What? No. It must have been a misunderstanding.
Is Mandroid based on Dr. Archiville from the G1 series? A trivial but interesting fact about Dr. Meridian is that he is inspired by the original Dr. Archiville from the Generation 1 continuity. Since Meridian is inspired by Archiville, the two share a bunch of similarities. Some of the more significant ones are: 1. Alliance. Meridian was initially allied with the Autobots while he worked with Ghost. Similarly, Archiville was allied with the Decepticons and was the first human to work with the faction. 2. Accident. Much like Meridian, Archiville was also involved in the explosion caused by the Cybertronians. Archiville was knocked unconscious and taken to Cybertron. There, he was attempting to stop a disaster from occurring, but he was electrocuted by the complex computers of Cybertron. 3. Android or cyborg. Meridian is only shown to lose his right arm, but eventually he attempts to make his whole body out of the overpowered Cybertronian parts. In the case of Archiville, it was not much of a choice. Following his freak accident, Archiville was turning into a cyborg by the medic droids that he would also continue living. 4. Enemies. Both Mandroid and Archiville's schemes are eventually thwarted by the unlikely alliance of Optimus Prime and Megatron, the two sworn enemies. There are a bunch of other similarities, such as their affinity for mind control, their scientific genius, their non-existent ideas of ethics in their experiments, and their plans of acting for planet Earth. Although Archiville aims to conquer Earth while Mandroid thinks that he is saving Earth, the two are still somewhat alike. So with many similarities already evident, who knows if there are more to be found? We might as well find more as we get to know more about the evil genius that is Mandroid.
Right, for the picking. Arachnomechs.
What makes Mandroid such a unique antagonist? Although we are not stating that Mandroid is a unique antagonist in every sense of the word, he is unique in the fact that he is a human antagonist in the Transformers universe. He's unique because he faces tremendous odds against him, but through his genius, he is somehow always able to gain the upper hand on his assailants. How often have you heard of the coalition of Optimus Prime and Megatron not being enough to take down a common enemy? The answer is almost none, because more, the already broken powers and and abilities that these two have, their strongest weapon is plot armor. Still, Mandroid is shown to be quite capable in the series and has restrained Megatron successfully through his Arachnamex. Mandroid is not an inherently and purely evil antagonist either. He is more like a misguided soul, and he believes with all his heart that what he's doing is right. He considers himself a hero that Earth needs and deserves from the threat of the Cybertronians. During his interactions with Dot, we do get to see the crazy side of him. He shows no regard for anyone who is conspiring against humanity with the Cybertronians. He believes his goal to be ultimate and is ready to lose anything, even himself, to win the conflict. Conclusion: Transformers Earthspark is a genuinely refreshing addition to the Transformers universe. The alliance of Megatron and Optimus combined with an all-powerful human antagonist is a vastly unique, and it's a great take on the Transformers universe. Seeing a reformed Megatron sacrificing his well-being to save a human ally while being held captive by a human scientist is still a bit unnerving and might be a hard pill to swallow for longtime fans, but it constitutes a fun overall experience. We are hoping that we get to see more of Mandroid and witness the full extent of his powers soon. What we are eagerly awaiting for is the completion of his hunt for his desired Cybertronian body parts. Who knows what will become of him and how powerful he might end up being. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.
If you'll not side with my Cybertronian enemies, then I'll destroy...